All right, so why do people ask for advice just to not follow it?
That's the big topic of today. So I don't know. So then, so me and my boy Clark here, we're talking about the subject, why people ask for advice if they don't follow it. So for you guys that don't know Clark, he's been a buddy of mine for going on almost 2 decades. It'll be close to 2 decades. So I think we met when about 14 or 15, when none of us had no muscles. So we've seen the trends. Clark is a trainer himself. I've learned a lot of things from Clark on how to build more muscle, and we've been just exchanging ideas. And so we're sitting here and we're chatting about this, and it's kind of interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because people ask you stuff all the time. How do you build more muscle? How do you build your chest? How to do all this stuff? But why do you think they don't follow? Why do you think they don't follow the advice?
I think my number one reason for that is probably they want to feel better about themselves, as in they're taking some sort of action. They're not happy with their bodies, so they blame themselves for not knowing what to do, so they seek this advice. And you give it to them, and it pretty much ends there. They feel like they've done their due diligence by asking for advice and seeking help, but not taking real action.
So it's kind of like a way of satisfying the. It's almost like if they ask for advice, they've gotten progress already.
Yeah.
Right. Like they're like someone may think like, oh, I wonder how do I build more muscle, and then you tell them how to build more muscle, and they're like, oh, okay, I got it. It has nothing to do with taking action, but now they feel like, I feel a little better now because I need to know how to build more muscle. And now I know it's almost like I've done a lot of work, part of the work already.
Kinda. When I was a kid, a lot of friends would go to church on Sundays and stuff, and it was like drilled into me that you should go to church to be a good person, right? And so I would tag along and be like, I went to church this Sunday, and I felt better, but I wasn't really into it or anything like that. But I guess it's kind of the same thing, right? It's kind of like I'm not happy with my body, and I only have myself to blame, so okay, I'm gonna take action, I'm gonna seek help, I'm gonna seek advice, I'm gonna ask for this advice, and once I gain this knowledge, I feel better about myself because I did something, but I really achieved nothing. I'm not taking that advice, right? So you really have to take the advice and use it, not just ask for it, listen, one ear out the other, and say, oh yeah, man, I talked to this personal trainer the other day, I met with him, and he told me I gotta do this, 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 and this. But the real question is, have you done it? The answer is usually no. Or, yeah, I've done it once or twice.
The best one is, somebody comes up to me and they're like, hey Mike, how do you go ahead and get in shape? Like, what do I need to do? I really want to get in shape. And then they give me the story about, about how they struggled and all this stuff. I mean, look at them, you can tell they don't work out. So then I asked them, I was like, well, do you work out right now? And they're like, oh, no. So in my mind, I'm thinking, well, first thing you need to do is just work out. So I just tell them that, I go, well, I mean, just start working out. I mean, you can't fail if you haven't even started. It's like somebody who hasn't started doing anything goes, how do you do it? Well, you start first, and then when you screw up, then you go, okay, so now I've started, I've got some results, but I screwed up, so now how do I do this right? But if they haven't done anything, there's no point in even asking because you haven't even done anything. And I think that's like the biggest struggle for a lot of people, is exactly what you said. I think they just want to ask just so they can feel better about themselves.
Yeah, I think if they're real serious about wanting to do something, I read this in a book, I'm sure you've read it as well, but stakes and consequences, timeline,
Steak?
Steaks.
Like the steak?
No. Like
something that's steak.
Or having something,
ribeye steak.
having something invested into it, like as a personal trainer, people ask me all kinds of questions all the time, and out of the goodness of my heart, I give them the advice that they're seeking, but sometimes it just gets so repetitive, and I just get frustrated with taking my time out to try to explain to them things that they're not going to follow. So I end up telling them, hey, you know what? Make an appointment with me. And by the time they come in that gym and they've actually made an appointment with me, set the time aside, and paid me, Well, now they have something invested into it. Now they're actually going to follow that advice rather than just asking. And when I give free advice, it's worthless to them because they don't have anything invested into it. Now, once
skin in the game.
Exactly. So if they've given me thousands of dollars for several training sessions, they're going to listen to what I have to say. And they're probably going to follow it more than if I were to just give them free advice, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's so true. And unfortunately, that's the way it is. You know, it's like make a lot of videos online, all these workouts, and while I'm happy that people watch it, but I'd be more happy if it was actually applied, if they actually all followed it. But just like you said, it doesn't happen that way because it's free. They feel like they don't have any stake in it, no skin in the game, no cash out of pocket. Basically, in other words, people are so fixated on not on what they'll gain, but what they'll lose.
Yeah.
You know, that's like it's a very interesting thing in psychology. People are more interested in, they worry about what they'll lose versus what they'll gain. What would you gain if you work out? You know, health, you'll have a great body, you'll feel good. Everybody's gonna be like, oh, you know, I mean, it's just a lot better life. But, oh, no, you don't care about it enough. But if you go and spend $1,000, suddenly you wanna work out. Why? Because if you don't, what do you lose? $1,000.
And a timeline too, because simply stating I want to get in better shape or I want to get in shape does not have any type of what do you call it? Urgency, sense of urgency. So clients that come to me that say, hey, I've got a wedding coming up in 3 months, 90 days, and I need to fit into this dress, or I can't have this belly when I'm putting on my suit or tuxedo.
Yep.
Now they have a sense of urgency. So it's not just I want to get in shape, when? By this time. Now they have to take action versus a lot of people, everybody says, oh, I want to get in better shape, but when?
Yeah.
So it's having something invested into it and also having a sense of urgency, having a timeline too. And back to consequences. Let's say what happens if you don't meet that goal. Like you said, maybe you pay for these training sessions and you slacked off and you don't achieve it. But not only did you waste your time and money, but how are you going to look when that day comes when everybody's expected you to make an appearance, right? Like you tell all your friends, oh yeah, man, I'm going to Cancun on this trip and I hired a personal trainer. And so everybody's expecting you to come out a different person. So you only have yourself to embarrass, right? So you don't want to embarrass yourself.
Oh man, this will go into another subject I want to talk about. And we may talk about the next one, which is how come most people are more motivated when they are being judged by others versus by themselves. Because think about this, guys. Here's an example. Usually people get motivated by what? Weddings. What's another one? You get training clients all the time. Weddings,
Vacations,
maybe a certain contest, like a bodybuilding contest or some type of contest. Maybe a birthday or something.
Yeah.
Maybe a particular event for the summer. Reunions. And all of these, if you look at the similarities of all of it, it's all to show us, to give impression to other people because they're worried about what other people is going to think of them. Because if it wasn't, then they don't need to anchor any of those events, any of those situations, any of those things as a reason to get in shape. They can just go, man, I need to get in shape. I'm gonna do it, and then just do it. But they have to go and think of these reasons. Put themselves to where, okay, I gotta feel like I have to show this for somebody else. It's not for me. They'll say, oh yeah, it's for me. But no, you actually care about what other people think of you. You don't really care about what you think of you. You're okay with it, but you just aren't okay with it with other people.
Yeah, that's another way to look at it too.
So that's interesting. We may talk about that in another video. So guys, so to sum it up, we've both been through a lot of this stuff to where people would ask for advice but not take any action. And one of the reasons why, and a very important one, is because they feel like, like they're doing something, they're taking an action by asking already, and now they don't need to do any more, and they feel a satisfaction. But if you think about it, all of that stuff is just games in your mind. If you truly want to get results, then there's a very important, we have to gauge your results. And if you gauge your results, and you take a look at what you're doing, if your goal is to go ahead and lose 15 pounds, you gauge your results by the amount of weight you're losing. If your goal is to build bigger arms, you gauge your results by the bigger arms. And you just have to decide that when you come up with a goal, when you come up with a fitness goal. So this way, it doesn't allow you to fall into that trap that, to be honest, many people, I've ran into so many occasions when that happened, that they do that. They take advice, they don't do it. So you'll fall into that trap, and it's an easy way to fall into it. So always, when you make a goal, always find a way to gauge how you're going to be able to track this goal. This way, you won't be able to, lie to yourself, so to speak, because these people don't even realize that they're not doing anything. They feel good. They actually feel good about themselves. They may even tell somebody, someone goes, oh, I'm gonna lose weight. And they go, oh yeah, I know how to lose weight. Clark told me how to lose weight. And then, they just tell them as if they did it or something, as if they gained something.
I just thought about another good question. How does somebody tell between good advice and bad advice? Because half the time I'm trying to debunk other people's bad advice.
We're gonna say that for the next video then.
Yeah, they don't ask me straight up for advice. They say, hey, I heard that so-and-so or this and that, and then I have to try to untrain what they learned that was false. But yeah, that's a whole other subject.
So we'll film that next video. So just want to go ahead and talk about this one, basically on why people ask for advice if they don't take it, right? So then we basically summed it up. They don't got the skin in the game. So if you really want to get results, you got to put something in stake. You got to put something in stake. You got to create a deadline, and you got to be able to track the results.
Exactly.
So more workouts, more tips to help you get in shape, help you live a healthy lifestyle. Check it out, SixPackAbs.com. See you guys there. What, Yogi? You've been biting me. What?